What's up, losers? It is the night before New Year's Eve. So go and get in line at the 7-Eleven, pick up your Thunderbird and your beef jerky, and get ready to rock in the new year. Because I, your toxic gatekeeper, your grumpy guide to all things gaming, is going into 2020. Still broadcasting. You can't get rid of me. I know you tried, but you can't. Can we get 200 subscribers by August 4th, 2020? Let's find out. But first, the year in gaming review. You didn't ask for it, but you're getting it anyways. What were the big stories of gaming in 2019? And what does the future hold for our hobby? And probably the biggest thing is that nothing bad that happened this year was blamed on us. Yeah! Nobody said, oh, my so-and-so did so-and-so because of D&D this year, which is a rarity. Another big story, of course, was the whole consent thing and oh, I didn't give you my consent to say this. I didn't give you my consent to do this. This shotgunning of, oh, D&D is becoming and gaming is becoming so prevalent in the public eye that we're now offending people again because we're saying things or doing things without their consent. And you have to have consent now at the game. You have to have consent before you say or do something on the blog that people might find offensive because we've gotten so woke. Oh, no, you talked about titties. Oh, really? Really? And of course, the other biggest news is that we're not as much in the news as we were earlier this year and last year. This year started with a lot of articles and a lot of press and a lot of D&D is cool again. We were never not cool, kids. But now, as 2019 comes to an end, that's becoming less and less and less. It's been 3 months since I've heard the words Critical Role or Stranger Thing mentioned in a conversation or any game that I'm in compared to Critical Role. As opposed to the beginning of the year where you couldn't walk 5 feet in the gaming hallways without hearing the name Critical Role or Mount Mercer. But with no Stranger Things and with no, community, with no TV shows that are milking that 80s nostalgia currently, it's starting to fade away. Sure, there's, The Witcher and a couple other sci-fi fantasy stuff shows, but not as much as people thought there was gonna be, and most of them are on cable, and it's gonna be hard to top The Mandalorian, let's face it. But I'm sure someone's gonna try. Maybe The Witcher? I don't know. I mean, it was cool, but it was a little weird. So that train of popularity and in-your-faceness that we had at the beginning of the year is kind of coming to a slowdown, sort of like I predicted. Will we be cool still in 2020 as there's less mentions of D&D in television and more of the YouTube-y, very niche audience thingy? Oh, I could watch it on D&D Beyond with a bunch of people I've never heard of and who claim they've been playing D&D forever. I could watch it on Twitch or, these other shows, but really that means, I have to go on YouTube and I have to turn on the thingy, and it's not the same as television. So who knows? We're not really in the eye like we were at the beginning of the year, and that's interesting. So what does 2020 hold? What are my predictions for 2020 gaming? I mean, you'd think with Star Wars and you'd think with the MCU we would see more science fiction film games and we'd see more superhero games, but I think fantasy games are still probably gonna be at the top. But I think we're going to see that glass ceiling of independence get broken again. And we're going to get a lot of more of the smaller independent zine size games because people are just going to get tired of having to pay $75, $80, $90, $200 to get a game when you can get the same amount of quality and the same amount of good gaming for $8, $7, $10 by just ordering print on demand or just downloading it and getting these smaller zine-like games, these smaller games like, Into the Odd and Maze Rats and Goblinberg and stuff like that, which are like 24 pages, 30 pages for $5, $6, $10 and are just as good as anything that came out this year. Maybe better. So I think we'll see more zine games. I think we'll see more independent games. I think we'll see more smaller games that are using print on demand and Kickstarter and GoFundMe to really get out there and try and make a name for themselves and get past the D&D glut and really try and bring more attention to the non-D&D games. I mean, Star Wars just had Rise of the Skywalker and The Mandalorian. You would think the people who hold the Star Wars license currency would be trying to milk that. The MCU just ended with Endgame, and the television thing is starting in 2020. You think somebody would try and milk that with a superhero game or another attempt at a Marvel Universe game or something? But I don't know. I mean, will we in 2020 see another Tales from the Loop? Will we see another Powered by the Apocalypse? A name that has already been forgotten pretty much, even though it dominated gaming 2 years ago. But now people are like, Powered by the Apocalypse? So, well, what's that? I never heard of it. Is that some decent game that totally revolutionized this? I don't know. It's no Dungeons and Dragons. Will 5th edition continue to dominate? Or will something knock it off its pedestal? I think so. I don't think it's going to be Pathfinder 2nd Edition because that came and went. What happened to Pathfinder 2nd Edition? I don't know. It was out for like 5 seconds. D&D is still covering the shelves and stuff for D&D is still covering their shelves, and people are still showing up saying they want to play D&D. So who knows? I would like to see something knock it off. We'll see. Another thing I think we're going to see in 2020 is more of the idea of game pubs. Game pubs are very popular up north and in the Midwest and over in England and in New York and Japan and in Seattle. But we haven't really seen them here yet in California. The closest we have is Xander's and places like Xander's where you pay to sit down. But I think game pubs are going to be a big thing, where a whole family or 2 or 3 people can come and get a table and sit down and also get food and maybe drinks and maybe alcohol, depending upon the legality of that, and play a board game for a couple hours or, Cards Against Humanities for a couple hours or HeroClix or Magic for a couple hours or even a short, 1-shot, 2-shot D&D place. Where you pay them $5, $10, whatever, and you get a nice clean table, you get a nice clean ambience, you get a staff that actually treats you like they want you there and with respect, and maybe they have uniforms and there's a menu and music and maybe some TV and, it's wide open and well lit and it has that pub atmosphere that where everybody knows your name. I think we're going to see more of that. I want to see more of that. I think it's a great idea because it brings more of the family and more of the people who might not want to, go to the dingy, hole-in-the-wall, cold, one light flickering, all this junk sitting on the shelves that's been sitting there for 20 years game shop and are maybe kind of tired of just gaming at the house because they want to, be able to get the food and the drink and something that's well lit and the music. So yeah, I think game pubs are might be a big thing, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, as D&D gets more popular, and as there's more people out there becoming aware of us again, the thing we've seen this year that I've mentioned, and I just saw it again, so I have a feeling it's still going to be a thing in 2020, and that is the professional gamer shark. Kind of like a pool shark. But these are guys and girls who show up at places and say, oh, I've never played before. You know, I just heard about it. My dad gave me the set for Christmas. I kind of want to learn how to play this D&D thing, you know. And, oh, I hear you got a one-shot going on. Would you be okay if I sat in and, you know, maybe, you know, you guys... And then, you know, and they're like, I've never played D&D. I don't own any of the books. I don't know any of the rules. Can't you know. And then, you know... 5-10 minutes into the game, they're quoting obscure rules and questioning the DM and talking about things that people are like, wait a minute, I've been playing this game since it came out. I don't know what you're talking about. That's some weird obscure ruling on page 115 of, you know, of the FAQ. What do you know, what? And it turns out that these guys who are like, you know, claim they never gamed before are sharking you. They're trolling you. They've gamed before. They know the rules. They're min-maxing. They're questioning everything the DM makes because they've memorized the rules and they're so good at the rules and they know every nook and cranny that they're trying to shark you. Which I don't understand because unlike a pool shark who has the potential of making money, or somebody who cheats at cards has the potential of making money, there's nothing in it for you for trolling a D&D game. You don't get anything. That 100,000 gold pieces, that's not real. There is no tangible reward for playing D&D other than the fun and the companionship and the puzzle solving and the role playing and the interactiveness. But you don't take anything home. So I don't see the point that this exists, but it fucking exists. I've seen it. I've seen it as a DM. I've seen it as a player. I have seen it way too many times. And just as we go into 2020, I just saw it again where some guys were like, oh, I've never played this game before. I'm trying to check out your one-shot. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, yeah, I've got 3 spells memorized. And I can make a called attack. And as he's moving by, I can take my half move and then spend my 15. And you're like, what? And even the DM was like, what? So... game hustlers. They exist. I don't know why they exist. But it's going to be a thing. And I think it's going to continue to be a thing in 2020. And, you know, in 2019, we saw this whole thing about narrative and player, you know, advocacy, which basically was let the players do whenever they want, troll your game as much as they want, and you, the DM, have no power whatsoever. And I think that needs to stop. I think in 2020, we, the DMs, need to get our power back, regain control of the games, really clamp down on these trolls, these people who just want to be loud and obnoxious and aren't really there for the, you know, the shared experience of the game. We've kind of gotten away from the whole this is my story to I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want and kill all your NPCs. What are you going to do about it because you can't find any other players? So we need to get back that control in 2020. What will be the game of the year in 2020 based upon what we've seen in 2019? I'm thinking it's going to be another Blades in the Dark kind of game. Something's going to come out of nowhere and just be so interesting and cool and unique and different. Because if we're just going to see more retro clones and yet another take on D&D and yet another take on D&D and yet another take on D&D, I think people in the market are going to get tired of that. There's only so many ways you can retread D&D. We need a new vampire. the Masquerade. We need a new Tales from the Loop. We need a new Blue Planet. We need a new Raven Star. We need a new just something to break that D&D glut. So that's what I'm hoping for in 2020. 2019 was a good year for gaming, but it wasn't a great year at gaming. At the beginning of 2019, I had all these predictions about, what was going to be the next Powered by the Apocalypse, what was going to be the next Tales from the Loop, what was going to be the game that broke the glass ceiling and shook the paradigm that D&D has sort of glutted. Because Powered by the Apocalypse came so close to being that game in 2018 going into 2019 that could have been the game that broke the glass ceiling. And Tales from the Loop, 2018 Game of the Year, so beautiful, so amazing, but such a niche audience that it didn't do it. I wanted it to do it, but I 2018, I said 2019, we were going to see either a game like Powered by the Apocalypse or Powered by the Apocalypse break that glass ceiling, be the next GURPS, and really take the world by storm. But it didn't happen. So now as we go into 2020 and we're seeing like the Return of Vampire, the Masquerade, and the Trinity system, and the Story Path system, and a lot of hints that maybe some of the stuff we're going to see isn't just going to be yet another attempt to recreate Dungeons & Dragons, but maybe either by milking, previous successes that weren't Dungeons & Dragons, like Delta Green winning the 2019 Game of the Year, and with the new World of Darkness coming out, and with the new Versus system coming out, and with the new D6 system coming out, and with the new other stuff like that. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's going to be the thing that just tilts the industry away from D&D for a while and really breaks the mold, because that's what we need. We need a mold breaker. We need the game to be the conversation starter that just isn't like, oh, this is what my 5th level wizard did last week. So that's it. Yeah. Now, close to home, of course, the big news was, Hypno becoming Endgame and reinventing itself and really being positive. Seth's kind of just remaining the same, and Arsenal just being a bunch of dicks. So we'll see what happens in the game store wars in 2020. Till next time, till the new year, losers, I want to thank you for putting up with my assholeness for the past 365 days. You have probably had something better to do with your time, but you chose to spend it with me, and for that I am unbelievably grateful. What are we going to see from this loser in 2020? I still owe you an expedition of trying to live off of vending machines for an entire day. That's going to happen in 2020. I promise you. We are going to try and hit 200 subscribers in 2020. We're going to do more food adventures in 2020, and we're going to try and get out of the house and do more Adam the Wooo style on the road things. That's the goal. We'll see how much of that we made it. We'd love to review some things, but that costs money, which I don't have. So look for more silly attempts to raise subscription rates, more adventures of taking the OG GM adventures on the road, and more complaining. Till next time, losers, I have been your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the toxic gatekeeper, the GM Grumpy, and I will continue to be your host, your grumpy guide to all things gaming and geekdom here in Ventura County, Southern California, and all across the world. Thank you very much for taking part in the OGGM adventures, and we will see you in 2020. 2020, can you believe it? We made it to the future.